All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. It is Wednesday, February 12th, and we have a 15 game NBA slate to dive into in today's video. Like we always do, I'm going to dive into each and every one of these games. I'll give you my prediction on the side. I'll give you my prediction on the total. We'll talk about any other plays like player props that we like within the game as well. But as always, guys, keep an eye down on the pinned comment. It'll take you to all of my final plays, so I'm actually rolling with myself. If that does interest you, absolutely free down in the pinned comment. All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. I tell you guys I'm a dummy all the time. They don't suck. They've just been sucking. Get them down to -3, 4 more juice than Jose Canseco in his prime. Tell me you're new without telling me you're new. So don't go jumping down my throat in the comments, right? If you want to fade me, or if you do want to ride me, this still leaves a bad taste in my mouth, right? And remember, more chins, more wins. In terms of how we fared yesterday, another positive night. We go 3-2, the same game parlay with the Grizzlies money line. Ja and Jaren Jackson both to score 15 plus points for plus money ends up coming through for us. The two losses, I mean, one was a really bad one, right? Pistons, Bulls over 236.5. I guess it's not a really bad one. Who was going to anticipate that the Bulls came out and everyone tried to play with their opposite hand? If you're a righty, they tried to shoot. I mean, it was just disgusting, right? That score at halftime was gross. It was like 71-29. Josh Giddey was on the Bulls, so that team was not doing much, right? But he actually had 15 points plus assists in just 22 minutes. So wasn't the worst read, but I mean, I don't think anyone thought the Bulls were coming out like that. Even if, and I saw some comments being like, it's clear they're tanking and whatnot. Even if, I mean, that is worse than tanking. They looked despicable yesterday. So, you know what? Bad read there in terms of that over, because obviously I wanted the Bulls to contribute to that. But Josh Giddey, I guess we can kind of say it wasn't the worst look. Like the crystal ball was actually somewhat accurate there. You know what I mean? But nonetheless, still a positive night overall. 3-2. The Knicks money line in that same game parlay. Jalen Brunson, as much as we got burned with the Bulls, Jalen Brunson got in foul trouble. We needed 7 assists from him. I think he had 4 heading into the fourth quarter. He got 3 in like the last 5 minutes of the game. So we got lucky there, right? So it's not like I'm all that bummed about the Giddey or the Pistons with that Pistons and Bulls blowout. It's like Jalen Brunson kind of came through and clutched up, luckily for us. So, yeah, there were some wins, there were some losses. A little bit more green than red yesterday. That's all we could say, right? In terms of the ride of the day, a good look here from Omri. He's pumping some crowd noise for him. He had Malik Beasley here to get 17-plus points over 16.5. Malik Beasley, what did he end up finishing with? I know it was 20-plus, but he finished with 24 points. Luckily, he was on the Pistons as they went off. He only played 16 minutes. And he had 24 points. So shout out to this look. I don't know if Omri thought only 16 minutes were coming from Malik, but he still ends up getting the points. If you guys don't know what the ride of the day is, just simple. Just use that hashtag ride of the day in the comments. I jump aboard with one person's play each and every day. Give you a shout out in the next video, win or loss. If you win, we continue to ride with your plays. If you lose, we shout you out, but you got to face the womp womp here on the video. We're looking forward to seeing what Omri drops today. Make sure to get your ride of the days in. If Omri doesn't get his in on time, we'll have to ride with someone else. And it's got to be inside -150 so the community can kind of comfortably ride. So go ahead and drop those hashtag ride of the day plays down in the comments. But guys, buckle up for this one. We're going to try and make this not an hour-long video, but we do have 15 games to get into. So very excited for it, but I know this is gonna be like a spit in the face of the people that say I talk too much or I ramble too much, because 15 games, how can we not talk too much, right? Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Let's go ahead and jump into it. Starting it off with what I would deem a very exciting and should be entertaining game. We have a lot of good matchups today. Some bad matchups, but a lot of good ones. You got the Celtics taking on the Spurs. Now, injury report-wise, Jaylen Brown is listed on the injury report. He missed last game. Torrey Craig, newly acquired by the Celtics, listed as a game-time decision. And Drew Holiday still listed as out. I think the Celtics get the job done here. They're 8.5-point favorites. Total's at 233.5. And this is not a biased take from me on the Celtics side of things. I really do think that they get the job done, because this Spurs defense just has not been it lately. And I don't think you want to bring anything less than your best defense into Boston, right? Especially when the Spurs, in terms of defending the perimeter, have kind of struggled as of late as well. So I think that that's going to hurt them. When you look at them defending the pull-up jump shot, which the Celtics take more than anyone in the entire league, second worst effective field goal percentage against in the Spurs, and then the 5th worst score percentage. So the Celtics should be able to pull up jumper all over this Spurs team, which obviously is not going to be a good situation for the Spurs because the Celtics do it so frequently, right? But like I said, the defense just hasn't been there. 121 allowed to Washington. They scored 131 in that game, so woohoo, they won. But 121 allowed to Washington, 112 allowed to slow-paced Orlando, 117 allowed to slow-paced Charlotte, 125 to Atlanta, 128 to Memphis. Like, this Spurs team, I know we gave them credit for being a good defense at the beginning of the year. I don't know where that has gone. So realistically, it's simple for me, and I'm going to try and keep a lot of these breakdowns simple so we save some time. Spurs defense has just been absolutely lacking. You have a single-digit spread with the Celtics at home. I don't mind them in this spot. Now, the one last sort of thing I would note, and this has actually been a weird trend of the Celtics, whenever they win and cover their last road game and head home, they have come out absolutely flat at home. That's the situation here. So if you like the Spurs, maybe you look at that. But Jaylen Brown or not, as long as Jason Tatum's in there, Kristaps is in there, I do think that we have a Celtics spot here. So I'll lean towards the Celtics. In terms of what we have from a total perspective, I think this is like a 120 to 109 type of situation. So slight lean to the under for me. If I were to, if you're dead set on rolling with an over, I would probably look at Celtics team total over overall. You know what I mean? Like, you can get that right now at 119.5, so you kind of get that 120. I think the Celtics defense could match up fairly well against the Spurs here, but overall, I think the best look may just be Celtics minus the points. Even though it's a big number, even though it's a bad spot for them, bad Spurs defense. Player prop wise, we do have a Jason Tatum look here. I'm actually considering his over 3.5 3-pointers made. This is a Spurs team that, like I mentioned, has not really been covering the perimeter all that well. In fact, they're allowing this season the third most points third most in terms of field goal percentage against from the above the break. And also, he's going to shoot at the rim at well, and they have not been defending that. So I think that he should have some good looks from three. So yeah, I like him to hit 4 threes tonight, some of those big ones. You can get that right now, I believe, for plus money. I don't think I'd play it past plus 100. In the opposite direction. I like that plus money number for Tatum to go out and hit 4 threes tonight. Yeah, plus 105 right now, plus 100. If this gets to minus 105, minus 110, I'd think twice about it. Wouldn't necessarily love it as much. I love seeing that plus number next to something that I think has a better than 50-50 chance to hit, All right, Washington, Indiana. I do think this is a game that we can kind of go through quickly. 9.5 points, even though Indiana's on a back-to-back, this is not enough for me to like Washington in this spot, so I will lean towards Indiana. Indiana actually looked at multiple times during that game last night. They end up losing to the Knicks, 128 to 115. The bench came in at the end. It looks like a blowout, right? They ended up playing plenty of that game close. It's just a matter that they never are close enough. Like, the Knicks won the first quarter, Knicks won the second quarter, Knicks won the third quarter, Knicks won the fourth quarter. Like, they just were winning the whole game and then pulled away towards the end of the game, I guess. But Indiana, even though they lost by 13, it kind of was just an aggregate of slowly losing all game. It's not like they got blown out at any point. So, yeah, though they're on a back-to-back, I know that makes things a little bit tough. I can't sit here and tell you that Washington's going to keep this to single digits. Will they? Yeah, sure, potentially. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that they won't, but Indiana's a decent in-the-paint scoring team, and you have Washington, who is just god-awful at defending the rim. In the last 10 games here, 76.4% in terms of field goal percentage against at the hoop. So, yeah, not good enough for me. I'm going to lean towards Indiana minus the 9.5. I don't know if I get there. That's solely because of the back-to-back, and they're on the road, but it's just not enough for me to get to the Washington side of things. When we come to an over-under here, right now it's sitting at 239.5. Indiana on their back-to-backs this season, though they've hit plenty of overs, right? Back-to-backs, they're just hitting the over at a 42.5% hit rate. Now, Washington is a little bit more rested. Maybe they have some fresh legs, and they can run because they can play with some fast pace too. All that being said, I think that this one's also a slight under game, but nothing that I'm really looking to, fixate on. I have this one pegged right around, a 236 type game, which is very, very marginally close to that 239.5. So this isn't one that I'm projecting super low or anything like that. So I'd feel kind of foolish to be like, oh, it's an under lock. And no. It's just one that I'm slightly projecting as an under. Again, anywhere in the 233 to 238, I would say. A little too close for comfort, especially with such a volatile team like Washington. So I'll lean under as well as Indiana, and then nothing else too major in this game. And actually, guys, I forgot to mention with the Celtics and Spurs game, we do have a free pick over on Sleeper here, guys. The pick on sale, 0.5 points for Wemby. Normal line is at 27.5. You keep that multiplier, you knock them down to 0.5 with a new customer. Sign up, and you know what's cool? They're still doing the play 5, get 55 back. It's really cool what they do. You place a $5 entry, right? You place one $5 entry as a new customer, you get your next 11 free $5 entries from Sleeper. So you can fire from the hip. You got 11 freebies from them, right? It's really, really cool. $55 in value into your account there. You 11x that entry. And say that first entry actually hits, right? That $5, you get that payout as well as the 55 in those entries too. So it's really, really cool, guys. Go sign up for Sleeper. That link will be down in the description as well as the pinned comment. And it's Wildcard Wednesday. If you don't know what Wildcard Wednesday is, it's essentially their version of Taco Tuesday, right? They discount multiple players throughout the day, so you can throw them into your lineup at a discount as well. Take that wildcard discount, put the $5 entry on there, and boom, you're good to go. Or use the Wemby free pick. It's an absolute no-brainer. If Sleeper's available in your state and you have not tried it out yet, you are missing out. I've been using Sleeper for over 2 years. One of my favorite DFS player prop apps out there. I love their payout format. Each and every pick you throw into your slip changes the payouts dynamically. They don't follow a fixed payout structure like a lot of other apps. So go ahead and check it out, guys. If you don't, I think you'll regret it. That link will be down in the description as well as the pinned comment. Now let's jump back into these games again. Buckle up. We got a lot. Orlando taking on Charlotte. The one thing that I'm starting to simplify these Charlotte games with is LaMelo, we consider it. No LaMelo, it's pretty much move on and either take the other side or don't touch it. This is a spot in where I'm actually thinking the other side, even though it's a big number at 12.5, could be a fairly decent look. This Charlotte team has really shored up some of their defense on the perimeter. Weirdly enough, I don't exactly know where it's coming from player profile-wise, but they have been a little bit better at defending the perimeter. They're still not all that great at defending the paint, and Orlando, should do some damage in the paint, whether it's Franz, Banchero, or guys getting into the paint and tossing it up to Patadze. Like, they should be fairly good at that, and this is a Charlotte team that's going to frequently take pull-up jumpers, even without LaMelo. Orlando's very good at defending that. So I don't really see an angle to get to Charlotte. In fact, I'm seeing some lanes for Orlando to score. The one thing that probably keeps me off of this, and maybe I'm nitpicking, but it's the truth, is that they've set the line here at just 204. Do we really think Orlando has the pull-away potential, like in that ability to win by 13 points and stay right around 204 points? That's a little fishy to some degree, right? Overall. So, yeah, I mean, I don't mind what we're seeing here in terms of the Orlando minus 12.5, but that total kind of has my head in a little bit of a pretzel here. So I'll lean towards Orlando. I would peg this at a slight over. Maybe it gets like 215, but what do I know, right? So I'm going to lean towards Orlando and the over. And yeah, if LaMelo was in this one, I'd actually be considering his under and threes again, because I like taking his under and threes when he's playing a good pull-up defense. But there's so many injuries. I don't think that there's anything that I'm eager to get to today as of right now. I would sit here and tell you, well, you look at the pick and roll defense from Charlotte, and it's decent, so maybe a Franz or a Banchero under, but I don't really want to trust, Charlotte's defense, especially when you get into that mid-range and at the hoop. So I don't think I have many player props in this one. But as always, if we do add player props, I'm not going to force anything today because we have so many games and so much opportunity. But if we do add anything that we don't talk about in the video, I'll put a little blurb with the final plays over on the Guy Boston Sports site. So at least you have my reasoning and rationale if you want to fade or ride. All right, next up, Knicks taking on Atlanta. So this Atlanta team, if you don't know, has been hit with injuries. They've traded away. They were sellers at the deadline. Trae Young is on the injury report. He's listed as probable. Now you have Vit Krejcic listed as out, and same with Larry Nance. So they definitely have some injuries they're dealing with. OG Anunoby didn't play yesterday. He was questionable. He's questionable again today with that ankle. I do think this is too big of a number, though, for the Knicks. If you're going to ask me who's the better team, Knicks all day long, right? Who has somewhat of the data to say that they should have some success? The Knicks all day long. The Knicks defense has been up and down at times during that game last night, right? You watch that nationally televised. They looked really good defensively. And then at times, Benedict Mathurin, Tyrese Howell, like these guys were looking, Thomas Bryant looked good. Like there was a lot of times the defense looks like they were lapsing. This Atlanta team plays really, really fast, as we know. I think they should be able to get some of their buckets in, and Knicks on back-to-backs have not been all that successful this season. 28.6% cover rate on back-to-backs. Atlanta, just a 50% cover rate when they've had a rest advantage over their opponent, but I do think this is a spot in which they may be able to play kind of too fast for the Knicks and at least keep this game within 8. So is it worthy of the psycho alert alarm? I'm going to look at Atlanta plus the 8 points, and honestly, it does have some sort of consideration for a final play here. I think that, we can't just get locked into believing the Knicks are invulnerable and whatnot. We've seen plenty of soft spots from them, whether it's good teams, bad teams. Like, there's times when they come out flat, and this strikes me as one where they potentially could. If the Hawks have been playing interior defense, recently like they had at the beginning of the year, I'd love this play. Right now, it's kind of just something that I'm liking, but at the same time, we can give the Hawks a little bit of credit, right? They're 3-1 in their last 4. They're 8-2 in their last 10, 6-4 against the number. They've beat Houston outright. They're 7-point dogs. They beat Toronto outright, and Toronto kind of coming off the tail end of that really good streak. They were underdogs. They won outright. They lose to the Celtics. They get blown out. They're the damn Celtics, right? Then they win in Indiana, in Indiana as underdogs. So this Hawks team has been playing somehow better basketball than we would have imagined with all these injuries and trades, right? And Trae Young being named an all-star reserve, maybe he has some good spots here as well. Pull-up defense, this is a Knicks team that has struggled with pull-up defense overall. So I think Trae Young, speaking of him, could be a spot I consider with player props. But my problem, and I think that this is a fair sort of grievance, right, is that the lines are so inflated. And they're not inflated, they're accurate, but they're just huge because of who else is going to be doing anything for this squad, right? So Trae Young is points line at 26.5 right now. On the season, he's averaging 23. So it's like they already have bumped that up. His assist line, is going to be super high. That's actually at 9.5, so maybe this could be a good look for like points plus assists now that I say it out loud. Pick and roll defense isn't exactly the Knicks' strong suit overall. In fact, Trae Young this season, let's see, I haven't looked this up yet, but against bad pick and roll defenses will go bottom 10 in the league. He's hit the over of his points. Let's see, points over in just 47% because his points again is so high. Let's look at bottom 5 because this is a team that's bad at the pick and roll. 25 to 30, only 45. So Trae Young's a consideration for me, but damn, it is a very, very high number. So unfortunately, I don't know if we'll be rolling with that. I could consider his threes because he's coming off of those picks, maybe chucking on the pull up, and obviously he's playing against the Knicks, the team that he seems to play well against in Madison Square Garden. Did I say that word? Madison Square Garden. I feel like I mumbled that or something. But yeah, Trae Young is consideration, but you got to hear me out that it is a little bit too high. I think we have a really good number for his threes, if I'm not mistaken. Let me see. We just have 3.5 here in our little notes, but yeah, so over. Okay, this makes me like it a little bit more. Over 3.5 3 for plus 140. That could be a sprinkle, like a quarter unit, 0.2 unit type play. Keep an eye on the pin comment. In terms of total, we haven't gotten to that one yet. I think this is more of a game in which the Hawks do up the pace. But, and it's a big but, the Knicks say, hey, no. We're on a back-to-back. Let's slow things down. We'll get the cat. We'll slow it down. Brunson probably has a lot of long possessions. So an underlook for me in this spot, solely because I do think Atlanta is going to run a lot, but it's going to make the Knicks try to slow it down even more. In my weird brain, that makes sense. All right, Toronto taking on Cleveland. This is another one where the line... And I know that, and we get some flack in the comments for this, and I totally hear it, but it can't change my opinion. You guys got to understand, I'm coming at this honestly and transparently. When I say this is too small of a number to give Toronto, but a little bit too big of a number for me to feel comfortable with Cleveland, so it's kind of like a no-touch type game in terms of a side. That's just the truth. I know people want to come here and be like, oh, well, you got to say something. Do you know how non-beneficial, mutually, it'd be for both of us, mutually non-beneficial for me just to fake that so that we get it out there. You end up taking a little bit more confidence from the video in it. That shouldn't be the case because I'm not confident. And I say it on video record being like, I like this. If I lie or try and give a little bit too much just to get the content. I tell you guys all the time, I'm not going to fake confidence for content. It doesn't benefit anybody. So when I say that, it's just the case. I'm sorry that it upsets people in the comments, but am I really going to be like, oh, I love this spot just to have the clip? No, I don't like this spot. I think Cleveland could work Toronto, but I don't necessarily love the idea of them having to win by 14, right? I thought this Cleveland team looked really good against Minnesota. Okay, they looked really good against Washington. They wouldn't even have covered this line against Washington, and they looked good at times. They're 17.5 point favorites in that game. So yes, I like Cleveland. I think they should be able to score at will. Who's will? They should be able to score as much as they want, and you know what? Just pretty much dominate the game. But this Toronto team is like sneaky. This Toronto team's slimy. They're showing up when you don't think they'll show up and that type of thing. And that's what worries me. So give me Cleveland. It's a slight lean. In terms of where we'd go total wise though, this is where I do think that we could have somewhat of a final play in this game. I like the under in this spot. I think that Cleveland's defense is going to look good. If you want to pivot to something that maybe I would truly consider a little bit safer, and I hate to use the word safe when we're talking sports betting, damn, but I don't mind the idea of a Toronto team total under. We've been very good at predicting. I think we've only lost one Toronto team total and have won 3 this season at their team totals, and right now you can get them under 113.5, under 112.5, depending on the juice you want to pay. I like that spot. I think Cleveland's defense should look fairly good against this team. The one thing that kind of concerns me is the last time they played, Toronto scored 126 on them. Yikes, so that's going to be an over, right? But the time before that and the time before that, they scored 106 and or 108 and 106. So Cleveland has had their number, but the last time they played, which, you know, obviously is worth noting, it was a little tough. Now, we flip over to the Toronto injury report. RJ Barrett's questionable, Jakob Pertub's questionable, Brandon Ingram's doubtful, PJ Tucker's out. So if these guys don't play, I obviously like the under on their team total a little bit more. If they do play, then we'd probably start to second guess it. The spot that I would kind of go player prop wise in this game, and this definitely has a chance, to be a final play, would be a look at either Jared Allen and Evan Mobley and or some sort of a same game parlay potential between them. I think this is going to be a game where the game is just decided down low and early and often. I also, if we don't see Jakob Poeltl, I never talk about these on the show. I like a Jared Allen first basket play as well, which is kind of a weird one, but meaning he scores the first basket of the game, or you can get first Cleveland score. I think that, given the fact that, and guys, if you watch Cleveland, like this, I was going to say insider information. It's not, it's just from me being able to objectively watch the games and make notes. They pretty much, if they win the tip, they run a pick and roll type alley-oop play for Jared Allen like 90% of the time. He's a really good first basket scorer option because he's most likely going to get the first field goal attempt. So I do like that. I know I'm kind of harping on that. I'll probably have to make it a final play now, but really don't mind the idea of that, especially if Jakob Poeltl doesn't play. Allen should be able to be kind of a force down there and right off the rip. So yeah, we can expect some sort of maybe we massage the lines a little bit. I don't like that I just used my fingers when I said massage. That feels weird. But we'll massage the lines and get Evan Mobley and Jared Allen potentially involved as well there. Brooklyn taking on Philly. We head over to the injury report in this one. I do think it's worth looking at. I mean, it's worth looking at all the time, but specifically for this game, don't expect Joel Embiid. Obviously, Nick Claxton also listed as questionable. Cam Thomas still out. Clowney out. Bogdanovich out. Kyle Lowry game time decision back on the Philly side of things. And Eric Gordon. So we have a ton of injuries to note. We will mention here Tyrese Maxey, Paul George, good to go. D'Angelo Russell and Cam Johnson, good to go. I guess the 2 guys for each team that matter as of right now. I don't really understand this line. I know Philly has struggled and whatnot, but I don't really sit here and say that their offense has been, death awful, right? Like, their offense hasn't looked terrible. They lost and they were 11-point favorites against Toronto. Okay, fine. Like I said, that Toronto team is a pain in the side of anyone that plays them. But, they're coming off of somewhat competing against Milwaukee, scoring at 112, 113 against Detroit. Whereas Brooklyn, I just feel like their offense is just null and void, like just not there. You look at the line, the total, and it's like 213. Okay, they anticipate a low-scoring game. I get that, but I think this is a Philly spot. I don't really see a world in which Tyrese Maxey can't have his way with this team, and we've already seen kind of exactly how I think this goes twice this year. Once in Philly, once in Brooklyn. First time earlier in the year, mid-November, 113-98. Yeah, I could see something like that today. Then, more recently, this actual calendar year, January 4th, 2025, 123-94. You have Tyrese Maxey, who's phenomenal. You have Paul George, who, yes, end of his career, but still a good player. I just think that Kelly Oubre, Yabusele is playing okay. I just think that there's more firepower on this Philadelphia side of things. So give me them minus the 2 points. Total sitting at 213. Yeah, I think I lean towards the over as well. At least a potential Philly over, I guess. This is a Philadelphia team that really doesn't focus on the pull-up jump shot a lot, which is where Brooklyn's defense is I can't believe I'm saying this out loud, but stellar. Like, they have a phenomenal pull-up defense, right? We've liked to take unders on three-point shooters against them before. In fact, we did it with Tyler Hero. We did it with LaMelo Ball. Those are guys that's scary to take under in threes against. But we don't need that here, right? This is not a Philly team that relies on the pull-up jumper. So, yeah, I think they're going to get to the paint and get to the paint with some success. I like Philly in this spot. And I like Philly's team total over. I don't like many player props, so I'll be completely honest. So keep an eye on the final plays. That takes you to the Guy Boston Sports site from the pinned comment. I don't think we end up having anything in this one other than Philly minus the 2, or maybe even just Philly money line. I just think that even though they've struggled so much, like, aren't they the better team? Am I missing something here? If you made it this far in the video, let me know if I'm missing something in this game, because this line for me, I would say I'd probably peg more at, like, I don't know, I guess Sixers minus like 4.5, which is close, right? But that's a full bucket we're talking about. I don't know, maybe I'm missing something. All right, Chicago taking on Detroit. We just saw this game yesterday. It ended 132-92, which isn't even like as bad as it was. Again, this was a ridiculously bad score at halftime, 70-something to 20-something. I still like what we liked yesterday. I don't mind the over. You know what? I'll sound the psycho alert alarm. I like Josh Giddey again. I don't mind the over. Even though yesterday was so bad, it's like, can't we acknowledge that yesterday was so freaking crazy? Like, that's not a normal type of a game from Chicago. Even if they are, like I said, tanking or playing bad, it's like they could score a little bit more. The fact that they ended up scoring, what did we get to there? It was like 220-something, and Chicago had 29 points at halftime. Doesn't that tell you that there's a chance an over hits? So, yeah, I'm running it right back. Same thing. If you want my breakdown on this, just listen to yesterday. I like Josh Giddey because I think that he can come off the screens in some sort of pseudo-isolation, which is how you score and honestly just kind of thrive on this against this Detroit defense. Even though Giddey isn't an isolation guy, like I said, we kind of got to massage the wording here because Chicago doesn't isolate. So Giddey should have the usage to get in those sort of one-on-one situations and switches. I like him again, and I like the over. Both these teams play fast-paced. Neither one of them are great defensively, and Chicago should, keyword should, because they didn't last night, should be able to hit threes, and Detroit should be able to score in the paint easily. So, yeah, I in terms of a side, I stick to Detroit. I think Detroit's way better than Chicago, but, yeah, I like Detroit, the over, and Josh Giddey in this spot again. All right, guys, if you've made it this far into the video, I have something really cool to share with you. I have not mentioned this on any videos as of late, but I'm very, very excited to do so. So we've launched a new site / product / research tool as its own entity, I guess. And it's got 2 tools on the site as of right now that I'm going to show you. First off, and we've teased this to the Discord on the Guy Boston Sports site, but now it's on its very own site here. And I'm very, very excited about it. So let's just jump into it. It's called Score Predicts. You can see how it's spelled. It's scorepredicts.com. So SCOREPREDIX.com. If you want to check it out, go ahead. We have the NBA Edge Finder tool, which is really, really cool, guys. We have our own set projection based on our algorithm. We set it against the lines that the books give you and sort of an edge. So you can filter right in here to the biggest edges, both for unders and overs. Obviously, the red is under, the green is over. Really, really cool. You can go through if you want to search someone, like we want to look up Josh Giddey, right? Josh Giddey, we have him right now for a slight points edge, not the biggest assist edge, but overall not all that terrible, right? We want to look at Jason Tatum. We mentioned him, right? And we're going to add more and more to this. Right now we just have points, rebounds, and assists, but really, really cool tool. And then we also have right here the NBA game prediction model, which has been hitting at a good clip. These are all in testing still, so FYI, we're still trying to make these better and better, but they're at a point in which I think they're pretty valuable. We have the lines, right, in terms of spread total, as well as what we have based on our algorithm, the score projected to be. So you get a spread winner in our opinion, and again, it's just to be used as a tool, not a guaranteed winner, right, as well as a total pick. So really, really cool, guys. If you do want to check it out, again, it's SCOREPREDIX, scorepredicts.com, a brand new thing that I've launched and built independently here. Like we've developed it and worked on it ourselves with the algorithm and whatnot. So I'm really, really excited. And again, I kind of wanted to just slide this in the video to let you guys know we haven't posted this anywhere else. So if you are seeing this, go ahead and check it out. Again, this is a tool that we're going to constantly make better and better. And you guys know me, right? Like I want to make sure that we get this to the people for help. It's not something that I would recommend going in there being like, oh my God, we're going to be 100% right with these projections all the time. No, it should be just another tool in your arsenal, on your tool belt that you can refer to. And it's been really, really helpful for me so far, because it's not my opinion based on these projections, right? It's based on sort of the algorithm that we've put together and the formulas we've put together. So really, really cool. Go ahead and check it out. Scorepredicts.com. That's scorepredicts with an X.com. OKC taking on Miami. This OKC team, obviously, I feel like such a loser saying it every single time, but I feel like I just have to, because they earned their respect, right? This OKC team, the best in the NBA right now, in my opinion, and in many people's opinions, obviously is still cruising. Right now, they've won 7 or 6 straight games. They've won 8 of their last 10, and they've covered in 5, which I know that doesn't sound like much, but they've had to cover a 17.5 point game against New Orleans. They did. They had to cover an 18.5 point game against Toronto. They almost did. I believe that was what? They won by like 13 points or something. They had to cover a 17.5 point against Milwaukee when everyone was out. They did. Like, this team has been covering some big numbers, right? Miami coming off of 2 pretty bad losses. The one against Brooklyn, yikes. And then, they're new. They got their new guys, right? They lose 103-85 against the Celtics. The one thing I'll say about this, and if you are looking at Miami, I'll kind of break this down from both sides. Miami's paint defense has been pretty good this season. We know OKC likes to score in the paint, right? So I do think that they got a lot better defensively. Wiggins, I think, will be good. Like Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson, Andrew Wiggins, Bam Adebayo, and Khalil Ware. I really, really like that starting lineup. Then you have Rozier, Jovic. Like, if we take the Jimmy Butler drama aside and throw out the fact that, this Heat team has been disappointing, we can be real that's a fairly well comprised team, right? Like, I do believe that. So yeah, I think that they can compete in this one. 13.5 definitely is a big number that I feel like if you gave the Heat 13.5 against pretty much every team in the league except maybe the OKC, Celtics, and Cavs, they'd be pretty damn good with that number, right? Like they'd cover it for sure. So yeah, weirdly enough, other than the Nets beat them by a bunch last time, like 2 games ago. I think that this could be a spot for Miami now, which is going to be my lean. I'll say that. If you do like OKC's also been very good from the perimeter as of late. A lot better than they were at the beginning of the year. They're hitting their threes, and Miami's perimeter defense had been good and has been good, but not consistent, right? I'd much rather gun to head say which is their better defense. Inside the 3-point line or outside, I'd tell you inside all day long. And OKC also should be able to score off the pick and roll here, as well as their catch and shoot jumpers. So I think that this is a spot in which, yeah, if they hit their threes, they probably blow them out. But if they don't, Miami stays in this one. And if we're going to say which one is more likely, I almost think that, OKC is not going to light it up from 3 because they are an interior-based team. So I'll lean Miami plus a 13.5. I'll tell you right now, I don't think I get there myself. I'm just being completely honest. Because this OKC team is so good, I just really don't think that it's the go-to move to just absolutely, fade them and take a Miami team. Also mentioning now that I refreshed too, Tyler Hero listed as questionable. That would throw a wrench into things, so keep an eye on that. But give me Miami plus a 13.5. Player prop wise, before we get to the total, Lou Dort. I just said catch and shoot guys should have some success. I like Lou Dort in this spot. He's hit the over 1.5 threes in 59% of his games this season. He did play Miami already this year, and he had 4 threes. That was in a very low scoring game. I believe that was in Miami as well. Last 10, he's hit it in 6, and he's averaging 2.6 per game. I don't mind him. I think he needs the attempts, but he should have some attempts here. Now, when we get to the total side of things, I've gone back and forth in this one because the higher this scoring gets, I think it favors that OKC number for certain. I think if OKC is going to pull away and win by 14 plus points, the Heat are going to obviously score a decent amount, but this game gets higher and higher scoring. So I'm going to lean, it's tough to lean under with OKC in this spot, but I think I'm going to lean slightly under, but I would never talk someone off of an over. Like really, honestly, the thing that if we wanted to go over, I guess the way that I'd do it, just like we've done a couple times here already, if we wanted to go over, I would say the thing that makes more sense in my brain would be OKC team total over, because that way you don't have to worry about the 13.5 and they're just pulling away, right? So get them over 114.5, go score 115 for OKC and call it a day. Pelicans taking on Sacramento. This Sacramento team I like. I feel like, remember at the beginning of the year, if you guys have watched all season long, shout out to you if you have. In fact, comment 33 if you made it this far into the video, and if you've watched for the majority of the season. The Sacramento Kings had a long stand on the DNB Graveyard main headstone, which right now it's just Tyrese Halliburton. He's sitting there, and honestly, he's probably ready to come off pretty soon, but we'll leave him on there for now. But Sacramento was on there for a while, and now I've started to like this Sacramento team and whatnot, which is kind of weird how that works. It's like that, I forget what is it Stockholm? Whatever the one where it's like your whoever captures you and you end up liking your whoever's kept you in prison, whatever that syndrome is. Anyways, back to NBA talk here. I've started to like Sacramento, and I like them in this matchup as well against a terrible New Orleans team. We saw this matchup about a week ago. Sacramento only won by 5 points, whatever. That was a game in which I do think that a lot of people were excited for Zach LaVine and whatnot, and he did score 22 points. Sabonis had, I think, 27 and 15, if I'm not mistaken, 27 and 16. Got it right here. Everyone played well. DeMar DeRozan didn't have the best of games, though, right? So I think if DeMar DeRozan steps up, we should see a better game, obviously, from Sacramento. You look at this game from a breakdown perspective. Sacramento loves scoring in the paint. That's where they live. That's where they're better. New Orleans literally can't stop a paper cut bleeding. Some paper cuts can get bad, I guess. But in the paint, like, they cannot stop you. I think Sabonis has a good game. I think that the Kings have a good game. They're not going to have to rely on their pull-up jumpers, which is sneaky. Like, don't forget this, because this can come up clutch. New Orleans has actually been okay against stopping pull-up jumpers, so some of those guys that like those pull-up jumpers, keep that in mind. But overall, I don't see much defense from this New Orleans side of things. The one thing that we can note is that CJ McCollum's also questionable, so if he doesn't play, Sacramento -5 seems even better. Also, Sacramento is on the road. Been a little dicey for them this season, but still not enough for me not to like them. So give me Sacramento. In terms of what we have from a total here in this spot, our projection has this at a 120 to 117 game, so in favor of Sacramento. So obviously that would even lean towards the Pelicans, but again, we can't always trust that if we want to do more and more. I'm thinking CJ McCollum could be banged up or not playing. I would say that this is a game that's probably slightly under. I don't think that New Orleans is going to come to play like that, and even if New Orleans does, like, they're not going to be able to score in the paint, which is what they like to do. The Sacramento team's good defensively in the paint. And then player prop wise, like I said, I like DeRozan to have a better game, and I like Sabonis as well. I think this is probably a spot in which it's tough to pick right now and peg who's going to be that really good, player for Sacramento. Like, I feel like people are downgrading and underrating the fact that they legitimately have, and we'll see how it plays out with the trades and whatnot, but they have 4 20-point scorer per game in their lineup. Monk, LaVine, DeRozan, and Sabonis. I think Sabonis is at, I forget what his average is as of right now, but like, they have some legit players in their lineup that they can win some big games here. So it's hard to pick whose night it's going to be. You know what I mean? Minnesota taking on Milwaukee. We go right to the injury report. Nothing new with the Giannis. He's going to be out until after the All-Star break, but now Damian Lillard is listed as questionable, as is Pat Connaughton. And we also have Mike Conley and Ant-Man, Anthony Edwards, listed as questionable as well. So tons of injuries in this one. Anthony Edwards has been on the injury report. I think he missed did he miss their last game? I think it was against Portland. I believe so. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure he missed their last game, right? So obviously, if Anthony Edwards doesn't play, this becomes a way different game, because now you have Damian Lillard being by far the best guy in the game, which if he doesn't play, then I don't even know. My brain's going to be scrambled, right? But I don't mind Milwaukee plus the 6 points if Anthony Edwards doesn't play. If Anthony Edwards does play, and I'm assuming Damian Lillard's going to play. If he doesn't, then I like I like Minnesota. This is going to be a tough one to break down, because I know at least one more time I might say Minnesota instead of Milwaukee, or vice versa. But I do like Minnesota if Anthony Edwards plays, regardless of the side of the Milwaukee injuries. If he doesn't, I probably do flip to Milwaukee here. Both teams coming off of losses in which they probably want back. Minnesota getting smushed by Cleveland, 128 to 107, and then Golden State beaten down on Milwaukee, 125 to 111. So both teams should come out somewhat fired up. We haven't seen them play this season. Both teams like to score, in the paint, right? At least shoot in the paint, but their scoring comes, I guess I should say that they score from both levels. I will take that back. They definitely shoot plenty in the paint, which is what I was going to say is where Milwaukee thrives defensively and plays well defensively, but they also both shoot threes, which is where Minnesota is really good defensively, right? If Milwaukee can score in the paint, again, if Anthony Edwards doesn't play, I think that they can cover that 6 points, and we'll see where that number goes if he doesn't. I think he'll play. But Minnesota should be able to hit threes, which is obviously, not Milwaukee's defensive forte. So, yeah, I don't mind this spot for them, especially their catch and shoot threes. That's where I would probably focus. So, if we want to look at catch and shoot on the Minnesota side of things, you're looking at guys, let's see, like Nickeil Alexander-Walker. I guess you could probably even look at Naz Reid or Jaden McDaniels. In fact, what do we have for props for those guys in terms of threes and made? We'll switch to, like I said, if Anthony Edwards doesn't play, I like Milwaukee, I knew I was going to do it. If Anthony Edwards does play, I like Minnesota. It's pretty much depending on him. Do we have any props? We probably aren't getting any props because of waiting on. Actually, we do have maybe some Naz Reid. Let's see. Just pulling these up now. Naz Reid threes is something I'd consider over 2.5, a little bit too high for my liking. Do we have anything for Jaden McDaniels? Because we've been really good at his threes lately, especially when we're getting the plus money. So 1.5 for plus 100. I could consider that, Jaden McDaniels. I think he'll sit in the corner and get some catch and shoot opportunities for sure. In terms of what we have from a total, 225 as of right now. This also, I hate to say that everything's hinging on him playing, but if Anthony Edwards plays, I like the over. If he doesn't, I like the under. I'm sorry, guys. That's just the truth. Like, it's all coming down to him, unfortunately, which is a bummer, but it is what it is right now. 5 more games. We got this. We're actually doing pretty good on time, I believe, especially after a little bit of editing and whatnot. But let's see. We got Houston taking on Phoenix here in this one. Phoenix coming off that loss yesterday to Memphis. We're not mad about it because we ended up cashing that spot, right? They lose 119 to 112. Houston has kind of been the struggle bus team lately. They are only coming off of a win, but not even a cover against Toronto. They are at home here today, which obviously makes a big difference for them. Last time they played this Phoenix team was last season, so, they won. I don't think it's all that worth looking into. You take a peek at the injuries. Sengun's listed as questionable. No Bradley Beal, no Micic, and no Martin. They aren't a back-to-back, the Suns, so we might see some changes in that, right? They have a little bit longer to declare their injuries and whatnot in their injury report. This is tough. 6.5 points certainly seems like it's a little bit much, doesn't it? Or am I crazy in this spot? But I think that Phoenix, I don't really want to just sound the alarm that, oh my God, they stink now because that loss to Memphis. Memphis is a very good team, and Phoenix, to me, has also been struggling, but they've played some tough teams. They got Portland twice in the middle of that Portland run. They played OKC. They beat Utah. Great. Then they played Denver. Then they played Memphis. Like, I don't know. Am I Phoenix plus is 6.5. Phoenix plus is 6.5. I think I'm crazy to some degree because I'm saying that a team's been playing fair basketball when they're 4-6 in their last 10. But listen to this. Their last 9 games, Clippers, Minnesota, Golden State, Portland twice, OKC, Utah, Denver, Memphis. The two of their bigger wins were Washington and Utah. They're beating teams they should. Houston, on the other side of things, they're not playing that great right now. They've had a tough go about it, but they've lost to Brooklyn twice. They lost to Dallas post Luka. I don't know. Call me crazy. Give me Phoenix plus a 6.5 points. I do think that they'll be able to at least compete in this one. A lot of the numbers would indicate Houston plays, but what if Sengun doesn't play? If Sengun doesn't play, I just said his name twice, 2 different ways. If he doesn't play, then this screams Phoenix even more to me. Back-to-back. Whatever. It is what it is. In terms of what we have from a total here, 223 is low. And I think the Suns on a back-to-back here probably come out with a little bit of pep in their step and then maybe slow down. So I'm going to lean over, also first half over. This isn't a young Suns team. Maybe they're a little slow, slow towards the end of the game, but fast out the gate. I'll lean over, but I kind of like the idea of a first half over as well. And then where I would go player prop wise in this one is probably going to be a peak, and I lean this way all the time, but I just think it is a good look, is Devin Booker. I like him to facilitate and to score in these types of matchups, and right now his points plus assists, 32.5. I really don't mind it. He's averaging 30.25 in his last 4 meetings against Houston. Yes, that's under the number, but you got to remember that this is a guy that's having so much usage this year. He's hit the over in 54% of games, and in his last 10 road games here, he's hit in 8 of 10, averaging 37 points plus assist. That could be a spot. Utah taking on the Lakers. All right, where do we go in this one? This is a Lakers team that obviously was fired up last game against this Utah team. They get Luka going. Now Luka's questionable, so is LeBron. Their injury report is really, really long. On the Utah side of things, though, they're getting healthy. Only Colin Sexton and KJ Martin listed as out, which has been kind of what we're seeing. So last time we saw this, Utah got beat, right? And that was in LA. I think this thing just flips on its head. They have the same matchup again. Yes, Utah didn't look all that tremendous. I'm not trying to say that they did, but I have a feeling they play a little bit more competitive basketball here, especially if Luka, LeBron, Austin Reeves, those guys are in the injury report, don't play. So I've been sounding the psycho alert alarm a lot today, but hey, it is a 15-game slate. Give me Utah plus the 8 points. Reason being is that if Utah does decide to take it in the paint, which they do some scoring in the paint, right? They should be able to score in the paint against this Lakers team. I really don't trust them down there. So that's kind of the thing that I'm thinking of the most. And in sort of that same vein, in the paint, if they don't make it to the paint, the pull-up jumpers are actually a place you could score really well against the Lakers as well. So we'd be looking at guys like, I guess, Lauri Markkanen to be able to go out there and hopefully play well, which again, we did see a blowout last time these two teams played. No one really played well on the Utah side of things. Markkanen was 8 of 18. He was 1 of 8 from 3. We had John Collins 5 of 10. We had Jordan Clarkson, who was 3 of 10 from 3. Like, these guys hit a few more shots. I think this is a more competitive game, and we're getting the Lakers on the road, which is an entirely different animal compared to them at home. So yeah, give me Utah plus the 8. I don't even know if that's a psycho play. Probably is, because Utah is kind of a bad team. In terms of what we have from a player prop, a total perspective here, no real player props that I'm loving in this one. I think that this is a spot in which we see maybe like a 232 type spot. So yeah, is it close? Sure, but I do think that this is an under type of spot, maybe a 117 to 115, 114 type of a game. Denver taking on Portland. So I think, is it fair to say that, Portland's run now is I guess complete, right? Like they went on that hot scorching run, and now it's over. They've lost 2 straight games. I guess we can give them the credit that they lost 2 straight games to Minnesota, who looked good that night, and then Denver, who mollywopped them 146 to 117. But it's like they're playing Denver again. Denver, who has won 7 straight games, covered in 5 straight games. I don't see any reason why we wouldn't like Denver. 12 points is a lot, so I'm going to sit here and tell you again, like, oh, maybe it's too many to actually go with, but I think it's too many to like the Portland side of things. Jeremy Grant listed as questionable, Robert Williams questionable, Chris Murray questionable, Scoot Henderson out, DeAndre Ayton out. Like, you just got a ton of injuries on their side. There are a ton of injuries on the Denver side of things, but they're, other than Westbrook, all the guys that matter are probable. Murray, Porter, and Gordon. So if those guys play, sure, give me Denver minus the 12. We already saw this matchup a couple nights ago, and Denver whooped them. In terms of what we have from a total, this is one where I do think it flips. I like the under in this spot. Yes, it was a massively high-scoring game last time out, but I do think the pace slows down a little bit in this one, so I'll lean under 233. I think we're getting a decent number because Denver scored 140-plus themselves last time. Dallas taking on Golden State. So definitely some injury concerns here, as we know. Dallas goes and trades for Anthony Davis, and then he hurts his abductor, adductor, non-contact injuries, out for a little bit. Dante Exum questionable, and now PJ Washington listed as questionable and listed at the starting 5, as they have PJ Washington and then Kessler Edwards as the 4 and 5. That's a small team, but you know what? Golden State plays small as well, so I don't think that that's going to hurt them realistically all that much as it might seem like it will. I do think that it's going to promote, less offensive rebounds and stuff like that. So I think I'm going to look at an under here kind of right off the bat. That 233 seems a little bit high for me. And again, it's kind of based on the fact that I think that the defenses are going to get we're not going to have many second chances. Am I nitpicking? Am I picking at something so specific? I would agree, yes. But it's the truth. It's kind of where my head is at right now. Also, you obviously have a good perimeter defense in Dallas. You have all year long going against Golden State, who likes to shoot the 3. And then Golden State, Dallas, they'll kind of score from, I guess, the mid-range, and they'll score from everywhere. This Golden State defense is a top 10 defensive efficiency team. So I like defense first in this game. Now, we've been burned, I believe, even on this specific matchup. I don't know if we made it a final play, but I definitely liked it back in December. We were like, oh, I like the under. It was a 143 to 133 game. Tough look there, right? To like an under. I think it was like 225. But I'm going to roll it back. Give me the under in this spot. And also, I don't mind Dallas. I think that this could be a competitive game, back and forth, low scoring. So Dallas plus, I think you can get +6 right now. It's a big one, right? Obviously, if PJ doesn't play and, you have other guys not play, then it changes things. But that's going to be where I sit as of right now. Dallas and the under. When we look at this from a player prop perspective, coming off the pick and roll and pull up shots could be a way to score against this Dallas team. So I do think that I like some Steph Curry spots. My one concern, and I feel like I say one concern a lot, it's just a concern in this game, would be the fact that I predict kind of a low-ish scoring game, right? And now you have Steph Curry, whose line is at 20, I believe, 26.5? Seems a little high to me. I'd probably maybe pivot to his points plus assists. It's at 32.5. That way he can have, potentially 8 assists or something and kind of cruise scoring-wise. And even if he has 8 assists, he still has to score like 26 points, right, to really make it easy. So I guess it's not all that easy either way, which it never should be. But yeah, I don't mind this. I think that having, Buddy Hield to kick it out to for a 3 or Jimmy Butler to come off the screen and give it to could be a decent look. Low-scoring game, though, makes me a little hesitant to pull the trigger on an over. Give me Dallas in the under and then Steph Curry. Whew, we made it. Last game of the night. I know some people will be like, oh my God, I can't sit through whatever minutes of this. It's like, imagine recording, researching, doing that. Like the people that comment BS like that, it's like, do you know how much time and work it takes to do this? I mean, I love doing it. I wouldn't trade it for the world. I don't take it for granted, but I chuckle at those comments. It's like, no way I'm sitting through this. And it's like, what if I just woke up and was like, no way, I'm going to be taking 5 hours to make a 50-minute video. You know what I mean? I chuckle at those comments. True guppies. Anyways, I can't ramble. I've been fighting the rambling urge all video long just so we can try and stay on track here. Clippers taking on Memphis. Memphis coming off of a dub last night. We capitalized on that in terms of final plays against Phoenix. Clippers coming off of a big win, and I just mean big score-wise against Utah. They're 17.5-point favorites. They won by 20. Clap it up for them. This is a spot, however, where I say, okay, as long as we have a Memphis team that's healthy, I still like them. I think this team's really, really good. They have some get back here to be done. They lost by 4 last time. They were, I believe, 6-point favorites. They lost by 4 in Memphis last time they played. That was December 23rd. I do think this is a Memphis spot. Now, are the Clippers a good team? Obviously, right? Have they been playing all that consistently? I would say no. And where the Clippers are good is defending the paint. I understand that. But I think this Memphis team is just a little bit better. And over the last 10 games here, the Clippers allowing a 70.6% field goal percentage to their opponents in the paint. So you're giving me the team that even though they're on a back-to-back, I get it, but this is a deep team. We got to remember that. Memphis this season has covered in 87.5% of their back-to-backs. 87.5. You got to remember that they're a deep team. This is a Memphis team that, I do think should be able to get to the paint. You're getting the better team, in my opinion, and giving me 4.5 points. I might be wrong. I might be off here, obviously, but give me Memphis plus the 4.5 points. Total-wise, it's back-to-back. I know Memphis likes to run. Clippers, much like how we kind of talked about, I guess, the Knicks going up against Atlanta here, I do think the Clippers will do their best to slow Memphis down, even though I think the pace will help Memphis. I'm going to lean slightly under in this one. Now, it's set at 237.5. I have this personally pegged right around a 118 to 117 game in favor of the Clippers. So again, we're trusting the model here. This one, Memphis covering, but that's also going to be slightly under, right? That's just about a 235 finish. So very, very slightly under, but an under to lean towards nonetheless. So yeah, give me the Grizz and the under. I think this still finishes in the 230s, but the Clippers will do their best job to kind of suppress that. One player prop that I really don't, I guess I would say I don't mind in this spot is the idea of Zach Edey not performing. Now, he's going to be on a back-to-back. He'll have some tired legs. He's not exactly the most mobile type of guy in the first place, right? And this is a Clippers team that, though they don't have the height to suppress him, they have the bodies, right? I mean, you have Kawhi Leonard, who is long, and then you have, obviously, Ivica Zubac, who is a beast. Like, I don't care if he has inches and inches and inches on Zach Edey is many inches bigger than... Pause. Had to save that to the end, huh? Many inches taller than Ivica Zubac. I still think Zubac should be able to kind of bully him in a sense. And right now, Edey's points, 7.5. He hit 5 and 4 in his last 2 games. Last time he played the Clippers, he had 3. He played 27 minutes, didn't get in foul trouble, and went 1 of 8 from the floor. So is it crazy to go under 7.5 on a guy? kind of course, because he's so big, he can have so many layups where it's like, oops, I just dropped that one in. But I don't mind it. I don't mind the under. I'd also consider, his potential under in rebounds. But last time he played them, I think he had like 14 rebounds. So I'm more comfortable with the under in points, I think, even though it's a low number. Kind of crazy, but it is what it is. But guys, that's going to wrap it up for today's show. Hopefully you guys did enjoy. If you did, you know what to do. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and we'll catch you guys in the next one, all right? Peace out.